Welcome, welcome. This is Orfis Rodriguez. I'm a career coach, and you are on episode 5 of Career Boost. In this podcast, we usually talk about leadership, management, skills, and talent. I strongly believe that these topics are helping you grow in your career, in your professional life, and this is why we discuss them here. And today I'm really happy to welcome Deepanjali Sapkota. We can also call you Puja, right?
Yes.
Puja is a well-being specialist at the Global Fund, and I had the pleasure of meeting her through another event. And luckily for me, I also heard that she also is an alumni from Webster University. So we are both actually connected through our studies as well. And today she was kind enough to join us for this podcast, and we are obviously going to discuss staff well-being. Especially staff well-being initiatives to help employees in the workplace. And I think really this topic deserves our attention, especially if you are a manager or if you're a leader in your organization. So voila, thank you, Puja. Welcome to this podcast.
Thank you so much today. Very happy to be here.
Thank you so much, really, for helping us really discuss this really important topic. I think not only as individuals, but also as organizations, we can really make a big difference. So how about we start maybe with a short introduction of yourself, because like I told our listeners, you're from Webster University like me, but there is a lot more to say about your background. So I really give you the floor.
Thank you so much. So I am Deepanjali Sapkota. I came to Switzerland to do my hotel management. And then quickly after doing the hotel management, because I didn't speak French in Switzerland, I realized that it would be a long way for me to go just doing without any language, doing maybe service to become, something else in my career. And then I also realized that hotel management, there's a lot of inputs in, long hours, and it's a bit different industry than other areas, and also lower salary range for a lot of many hours put in. So luckily, I moved to Webster. That's when I did my bachelor's in human resources and marketing. And then I started working as well. And I've been working now between private sector and humanitarian organizations. And currently I'm working in the Global Fund for the past 16 years. I started in HR, and I did all areas of HR because I didn't know where to start. So I think it might be useful for your listeners how I started my career and how I ended up in well-being today. So I started in HR not knowing where to go. So all areas, and I really liked recruitment. And I think that was my favorite part of HR, recruitment. And then at the Global Fund, I got an opportunity to move to the program management. Coming from Nepal, I always had this, dream of moving and doing something for my country. There was an opportunity, grabbed that opportunity. I have been working in the program management for 6, 7 years, and then governance within the grant management. And then finally, very recently in well-being. So how did I ended up here? Because well-being became one of my passion. So the past 10 years, while I was doing other positions in the organization, this was something that really helped myself. When I came to the Global Fund, I had started my own personal journey into, self-awareness. Why am I unhappy in a job? Why do I keep changing my jobs? What do I need to do? What kind of career? Because I was every 2 to 3 years, I was getting a bit anxious, looking to apply for other jobs. And then this really helped me. So the personal development part became a very big part of my life, which helped me to be in peace with myself, and have a more calmer, phase where I could really focus on whatever I was doing, enjoy that, and then on the side, investing in myself around lots of personal development programs. So a conscious decision that I took personally, not to do a master's or MBA courses, whereas a lot of people do that. My conscious decision was to invest in my own personal development on trainings and, skill buildings, those kind of things. So that's how I ended up in this position today, because the organization opened a position and I applied. And, because I had been kind of pushing for this on my own way in the organization, raising awareness around how important well-being of employees are. It was a really it's really amazing to be in this position today, like fully doing whatever I'm passionate about. So yeah, that's a bit of an introduction of myself, maybe a bit long.
A great one, because you really show how your passion guides your decision and also your career choices. And it's true that today we tend to think that we have to take so many courses, we have to go and take on new diplomas every day to progress in our career. It's not wrong, but we also have today the day-to-day efforts to build our skills in a certain areas, in specific areas. So today I feel like you're strong in this area of staff well-being, and that's also why I thought it would be really interesting for you to have you on this podcast to discuss this. As you know, especially now that we moved out of this post-COVID, we are in this post-COVID time, and people are more and more talking about self-care, burnout, depression, looking on an individual level, but organizations are on the other hand talking about staff retention and so on, because they're losing people. People have different needs, different people are shifting into a different type of work dynamic. So these are very hot topics. And you mentioned recruitment. In recruitment now, we are facing some scarcity of talent in some areas, like for example, in the industry of hospitality, as you know, in Switzerland, in Europe, when people realized that, during the COVID, they were happy staying home on weekends. They didn't want to work so many long hours, and it was these were difficult industries as well, because there are hot seasons, low seasons. So in this industry, people have been really hit. They really are facing scarcity of talent and so on. So I'm really interested to know, what have you observed? What have you observed in your industry specifically?
Yes, thank you for bringing this very important topic around COVID. I think, the whole world, we all went through this massive something that we never imagined as a humanity, right? And especially our generation, who has not had the most difficult era, about economic crisis, or I think we have been lucky in that sense that things were working pretty well. And then we were probably not 100% conscious of how others were living their lives. If we were in a good place, things were all okay. And I think it really, personally for me, it was a really uh, good moment, because it was a moment for reflection. And I think that's what a lot of people had time to do. Actually, the first thought that I got when this was happening, was when everything started shutting down, was, oh my God, can every single person who has been working, we always said, oh, I wish we could stay at home and not go to work, right? It
Yes.
was as if our wish came true. But I think what it really did, and for us as humanity, is time for reflection, right?
Mm.
There was a time of uncertainty. There was time unknown, like we didn't know where we were going, what it was happening. Everything was completely new. So it was as if we were pushed to really look into ourselves. So
Mm.
a lot of questions that we didn't want to think about maybe in the past because everything was working fine, everything is going well, life is good. When life is good, we don't really think about what's important or what's meaningful for us, right? We are so busy in our world that we don't have time to think about. So I think the COVID, apart from many industries that went through very rough times, I think it was a time for reflection. And I think what came out of that for many people was, is this what I really want in my life? Knowing that things could change from one day to another. We all experience that. I think up until COVID, it was like, nothing's going to change. Everything's going to be great. This is how life is. And I think that moment really made us think like,
Mm.
no, maybe it's different. Maybe things can be different. Maybe
Mm.
things can be done differently. Right.
Mm.
So that's my reflection. And I think from that point, and also seeing what was happening, like, especially in the hospital setup, where people were giving so much,
Mm.
were laid off, like the nurses and everybody, right? So no matter how much you gave in, actually the society or the workplace didn't really take care of you. So I think there was a genuine question about what do you or what do I want as a human being, and how do I want to continue to use my time in a way that means something for myself. Because at the end of the day, it was just me, myself, or my family. That was, those things became much more important probably than just work. So out of that, people have started choosing, right? So what we started was, this fast-paced moving, constantly moving, doing from one thing to another. I think with that step back, people were really thinking, how do I want to spend my time? How do I want to spend my life? Do I need a lot of money? What's the correlation? So really asking these fundamental questions, I think people started choosing.
In your industry specifically also, did you see a lot of like shift, people coming,
So
going?
so in the workplace, like our workplace, well-being, why it became so important is because organizations started understanding that actually it's not, that person who has the depression or that person who is weak, right? We were all part of it. Like even the most strongest people in an organization was feeling lonely or feeling less of or not disconnected, or their family weren't around. So I think we all went through a lot of emotion together to really understand that, oh, there's no longer we can say, okay, it's just a group of people who are weak emotionally or mentally, right? The strong people were also feeling that. So I think that's what the organization has started learning from the COVID is actually we need to take care of each other. The studies and researchers have shown that, right? It is a common sense that we need to take care of each other to come to a collective, to achieve a goal or a objective of an organization. We no longer can ignore uh, the percentage of people or number of people who are going through some um, mental health, emotional health, and also that I think there's no longer this separation between work and my life. It's becoming more closure to say that if I'm not well at my home or in my mental health, I can't be productive at work, right?
Yeah,
So
but I'm just trying to understand what was the triggering factor. What were the signs, the strong signs in your organization that really impacted the need to create this new position? Because what you're saying is it was a new position, right? It
yes,
was a
in
new
the global side, yes, yes.
it was a new initiative.
Yes. So it's really to say that, we care for each other, right?
Mhm.
So that the kind of culture we want to create in the organization is culture of care and candor. That's the word we are using. But it's really making sure that we are creating a culture where we are taking care of each other, we are helping each other progress or each other advance in our own personal well-being, and how can an organization really take care of that? Because you see, our organization specifically, we have a very big objective, right? We are working towards eliminating HIV, TB, and malaria. So we do need a healthy workforce to achieve that goal. And every 3 years, which is when we have our strategy and we plan for the next replenishment, our objective is getting bigger and bigger and having a bigger impact in the world in saving millions of lives. Global Fund saves 59 million lives, the recent results, right? So to do that massive impact, we need to have a healthy workforce. And I think without organization really taking care of employees, we can't do that. And also, like you said, when there is burnout happening, when there is high sick leaves going on, productivity is going down. People are producing, but how becomes the question as well, right? And also the impact of when people are going on sick leaves, the impact that has on the team level, at the managerial level. So there is today in the well-being, what it has been able to do is what is the return on investment, right? ROI. So a lot of organizations keep asking, what's the return on investment? And I think because of the many studies that has been going on over the years, that well-being industry has been able to show at an organization level really the impact of not taking care of your employees. So it's basically disengagement. It's people leaving the job, like you said, making other choices. It's a question about sustainability. It's a question about making sure that people are feeling belonging. It's no longer, an organization is not in an advantageous aspect if they are not providing. People are asking for this. So if you want,
I'm so sorry. I'm just conscious of the time as well. So I'm really trying to go down to maybe the typical type of initiatives that you've been doing, because I know a lot of us, we know the risk of not taking care of well-being, really. So specifically, what have you been doing? What were the initiatives that you put in place in this role?
Yes. So now what we are doing is we did have well-being programs the past, 5-6 years. I think in Global Fund we have started 2013-14. We had a committee. We were proposing activities like normal well-being programs that was in the past is no longer going to be supportive moving forward. So initiatives like give people the gym membership, give people the yoga classes, give people a good eating cafeteria, only that is not going to help anymore, right? So it's more about how can we give people the purpose, that they have a sense of purpose, that they have a sense of belonging. That's why our Global Fund is focusing on culture of care. And then how can they thrive, not just survive, right? So far, we've been surviving. So what we are doing right now is really taking a stock of what we did in the past, what worked well, what didn't. And then research is also showing that we need to go, before it was like one size fits all, just give them the gym, these couple of well-being initiatives that we normally provide, give them like a team building activities, and that will sort out the problem that the team has. But now that's not going to work. So we've understood that maybe each team, even within that team, there are smaller teams. We need to go deeper and really understand what well-being means for each individual first, and then going back to the team level and then at an organizational level. So right now we are analyzing the data that we have. So we are analyzing the impact of the programs that we have. We have also are looking at the surveys. So we use surveys. We use sick leave, and we are also talking about how can we get the data that actually we are legally we can receive those data from staffs to really differentiate between, is it a mental health, emotional, or it's just, sick leave that is chronic diseases or something. So really going into the data, using data is become very important. So really using the data that we have to customize the program that each team or departments would need. So no longer one size fits all, but how can we really support teams whenever they need, and what do they need to become the most, thriving or a happy place to work in, knowing that we have a lot of workload as well.
So these initiatives are for headquarters specifically, or
So Global we are just based in Geneva, so all our staffs are here.
and so you how big is the head count?
We have more or less 1,000 staffs, and we also
1,000?
have professional consultants.
1,000?
Yes, more or less.
And how many well-being people are involved in this
Okay.
initiatives?
So for now, it's only one position.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're the one trying to customize some approaches, some initiatives for each team, for these different teams that you're mentioning.
So very good question. For now, as an organization, I think for many organizations, UK, US, some of the countries, Canada, they are way further than Switzerland or few other European countries. I mean, well-being has been embedded, they do a lot of work around it. Here, it's still new, and people have, organization has not fully embedded in their everyday life. So for now, yes, there's only one position. And that's exactly, I think, a statement to say it is important for us. We need to do this work. And it really, so we also have DEI, one person on DEI, one person on well-being. And of course, we have a manager. We are working with other cross-cutting teams as well. So it really depends on how the initial phase right now that we are taking the stock is going to translate. And then, of course, it's after that we can make a recommendation to the organization on what needs to be happening more as we move forward. So we need to have a well-being strategic plan or a framework to govern. So it's going to be a long-term plan that we will be working on. Yeah.
So I understand. I'm getting more clarity. So obviously, when you start a big project like this, you have to go through different phases. First is collecting the data, analyzing the data, and then you can start, plan initiatives around this data and see how you are able to implement them with KPIs and see what the impact of these initiatives are. So at the moment, you haven't started really the phase of implementing.
Yes, I would say we are right at the phase one period.
At phase one,
Collecting
really of
information,
collecting
analyzing.
data, analyzing data.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Absolutely. And then, yes, we already have, even though we don't have a specific KPI, we already have a well-being as part of the performance. So we are also talking about psychological safety, not directly linked to well-being, but, it's all cross-cutting. So we do have psychological safety so that people can feel part of the DEI also, So there is a whole initiatives going on around, which has been introduced since COVID also, DEI. So we are working together to make sure that we are aligned and it's not a separate things doing multiple initiatives. It's not about what we can offer. It's really about how can we bring employees learning about their own self-care, but also the organization understanding why it's important, right? So it's also educating many of the managers and leaders because for them also, when we start talking about different initiatives, it can be not so much holistic, So that's really the challenge on how can we make it communicate it to the staffs, communicate it to the managers in a way that they understand it's important. But then also when there is a question of workload, which is, I think all organization has the dilemma between the workload and the well-being, even though a lot of people know that well-being is like even ourselves, right? We know that we need to be taking care of ourselves, but the first thing when work comes, we are not eating well, we are not doing our exercises, we are not drinking enough.
Mhm.
That gets out the first. So I think now the question is, how can we make it a habit for all of us so that we can keep choosing well-being and workload, kind of a balance, not just give everything just for the work. So that's I think where we are in the work environment, all of us trying to figure that out together. So I think it's a very exciting moment for me. That's how I see it. Instead of it's a lot of opportunity I see.
Yes, 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 because you're part of the building phase of the you're building up really this culture of self-care and awareness, self-awareness in the global fund. So obviously I ask one, I mean, you are representing the organization, you're representing the efforts that the organization is trying to put into this area. But obviously, we also have the individual responsibility to take care of ourselves as well, and take care of ourselves, and recognize what our needs are, and what we can do as individuals, really to make it easier for us to operate in a healthy way, and to be more engaged in our work environment.
Yes.
So I think this is really I want to divide the discussion into two parts. So the first part was really talking about Global Fund. What have you done? Where are you at? So thank you very much for your honesty and for your transparency on how globally you are doing in this with this agenda specifically. How about we continue in part two? I'm just gonna end this first conversation, and we will come back
Can
for.
I just add two couple of things to finish the global fund part?
Yes.
I just wanted to add that actually the over the years, the kind of programs that we've been proposing in the part of the well-being is, you know, we have we have been providing mindfulness to staffs for the past 5, 6, 7 years already,
Okay.
twice per year. And it's a very well received program. At least the feedback that we get is, even if they can't, because when it comes to workload, like I said, an organization cannot achieve well being as long as there's no balance, right? It has to be a little bit of balance. So those are some of the things. We have a lot of sessions that our health counselor we have a counselor in the workplace, and that was also a demand from the staff, right? It was all the engagement service that was recommending some of these. So we have that. We have ombudsperson. We also work. So we have all these various interlinked. We work together,
Yeah.
and we also have since COVID, because of the demand on mental health, we have also part of the employee assistance service through the insurances also. We have sessions and consultation
Yeah.
programs offered to the staff. And the most important thing is really leadership. You can't have a successful well-being program or well-being without the leaders speaking the talk, walking the talk.
Yeah.
It will fail. So in every aspect, if leaders are not reflecting and living well-being, like taking care of themselves, being an example, it's that really needs to change. It's
Mhm.
not like let's give them some programs and give them some time
Mhm.
off. It's gonna work. So that's where we are now. Thank
And
you.
and you
Sorry.
mentioned also psychological safety. So obviously,
Yes.
also
Yes.
uh, a big part that can be done through leadership
Yes.
in this
And
aspect.
we are also providing managers support. So making sure that the middle managers have the support that they need, which we have seen that there is a gap there, and we are working towards it as well.
Mhm. Very good. Thank you very much again, Puja. So we are coming back for part two. Be with us. Stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you.